It's that time again, folks. Time for another quick queries video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. This is number 11. I can't believe I've done 11 of these already. It's quick answers to queries about Microsoft Access, which may or may not contain actual queries about queries. This is where I answer the questions that I've gotten over the last couple weeks that maybe they don't merit an entire video in and amongst themselves, but they're still good questions nonetheless that people ask, so I like to answer them. First up, we've got Steven, who asks, in design view, my windows seem super zoomed out, requiring some pretty precise maneuvering of the mouse. Is it possible to resize the window, zoom in and out? Yeah, no, you can't. Sorry. That's one of the things in design view. You're stuck with what they give you. That's one of my pet peeves with Access, with Microsoft, I should say, is that with Word, with Excel, with PowerPoint, you can zoom in and out when you're working. Can't do that with Access. No, sorry, you're stuck. Access, once again, is the redheaded stepchild of the Microsoft Access or Microsoft Office family, right? Now, with that being said, in design mode, you're stuck. Sorry. I mean, you can. There's Windows Screen Magnifier. There's a whole bunch of different tools you can use to zoom in and out. I know I got really crappy vision myself, so I sometimes use a zoom magnification tool. But when you're working with your database, when your users are working with your database, there are some things you can do. For example, you can use the Zoom dialog box to zoom in on a specific field and make that text bigger. You can resize forms for different screen sizes. Right, as you make these bigger and smaller, you can make these fields get larger. You can make the font sizes get larger. Okay. And I even put this thing together called the form profile template where you can specify different sizes of screens for different devices. So you can have the same database that's used on a cell phone or a tablet or a desktop PC or big screen, small screen, whatever. Again, all of these things are for using the database and not necessarily designing the database. So hopefully, eventually, one of these days, Microsoft will give us the ability to zoom in and out of a form while you're designing it. And I will look forward to that day. But no, Steven, you're not crazy. You just can't do it. Sorry. Next, we've got Carrie, who asks, I want to learn VBA, but since I haven't started your developer classes yet, I've been getting pretty creative with macros. I never thought about it much before this video, but now I'm curious, what are the pros and cons of doing things one way or the other? Obviously, one pro of using VBA is that it's probably a million times more versatile, where macros can be constructed more easily by novices. But for all tasks that can be accomplished by a macro, I worry that there is cost involved. Like, for example, is it slower? Will there be problems when a DB gets scaled up to SQL Server? Yeah, well, you nailed a couple things on the head. Obviously, macros are easier for people who are not programmers because you can visually pick commands from a list. And there are safe commands that will work even if you share the database with someone else. Things like open form, right? You don't got to worry about the warnings disabling, stuff like that. Whereas VB gets straight disabled unless the user specifically puts it in a trusted folder or allows those things to run. VBA definitely is a lot more versatile. And once you learn VBA and get proficient with it, it's much, much faster, I think, to type in code than it is to try and sit there and click and drop down those combo boxes and find the commands you're looking for. I get frustrated with those menu options myself. I can't stand them anymore. But again, the side of that is you have to learn the commands yourself. I've been doing this for many, many years, so I know them all mostly by memory, but you got to have a reference material for a lot of that kind of stuff if you're not already familiar with it. As far as speed goes, I really don't think that macros are that much slower than VB. I mean, both will get compiled to machine code when the database is running, so I don't think that's an issue, especially not with modern computers. They're nice and fast for both things. Now, upscaling to SQL Server, well, you're not gonna use your VB code or your macros in that case. So there's a whole different can of worms that gets open when you do that. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But if you are going to upscale your database later on, you can still use your front end, your Access front end with SQL Server. So whether you've built your database with macros or with VBA code, that really doesn't matter because you're just going to connect your tables to SQL Server and still use Access as your front end. So that doesn't matter there. I have been planning, it's been on my to-do list for years to do a more in-depth video on the pros and cons of macros versus VBA. And I got a bunch of stuff on there, but I don't really use macros that much anymore since Microsoft killed off web apps. I was gearing up to get all excited for macros back in 2013, but then they killed the web apps. So I'm like, why bother? So I stick with VBA now pretty much exclusively. But I usually recommend for beginners, start with macros and see if that's something that you enjoy doing, and if you want to move into VBA, then upscale to that. All right, this one was submitted on my Facebook group. Facebook group. Oh, yeah, I still have the Facebook group. Okay, even though I hate Facebook. By Jenna, and Jenna says she's looking for help with her database, and she says she's got different tables set up for different years. So not everything is clogged up in one table. Now, I'm going to say, personally, I think you should put everything in one table. All right? Have a field for year or an actual date, okay? But I see this a lot. I see this so much. In fact, I've got another video coming up in a couple days. Someone who sent me an Excel workbook that's got a whole bunch of stuff in it, right? Different sheets, and each sheet represents a different year. And they want to get it all together in one table properly, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But this is one of those things where I see this all the time. Don't do things like a separate table for each year or a separate table for each client. No, you should put all that stuff in one table. That's why you have a database with a customer table for all your customers, right? Or an order table for all of your orders. If you want to archive older stuff, that's fine, and I got videos to show you how to do that. But save that for stuff that you are pretty much sure you're no longer going to need, like 10-year-old orders and stuff. Now, I did answer Jenna, and I said you could use a union query if you want to. You can use a union query to put data together from those multiple tables. All right, if you want to consolidate that all into one record set, basically, one query that's got all that information in it, and then take that and use an append query and put it all together in one table like it should be. But I definitely don't recommend storing data like that in multiple tables. Right, one table. I'll put links to these things down below if you want to learn more about union queries or archiving records. Next one comes from John. John says he's getting ambiguous name detected. What does that mean? Well, it's exactly what it says it means. Ambiguous means I can't tell what you're talking about. It could be one of many things, right? He's using a function called getSetting. Okay, which comes from some of my code that I produced. Generally, I see this when people are copying and pasting code into their database. Like if you're taking something out of my code vault or something else you found online, and you paste it into a module in your database, and now Access says ambiguous name detected. What does that mean? You've got getSetting in there twice. All right, so do a global search and replace, try to find that, and I guarantee, I'm not going to say 99.9%, you've got two getSetting functions in your database. All right, that's what that means. You gotta change one of them. Okay. All right. So next up is Pat. Pat sent me an email, and he said he knows you can click on Shift F2 when you're in a field. It will pop up that zoom window. And he says it typically comes up size 8 font, which is very tiny. He'd like to default it to about size 12. Okay. And then I responded with, yeah, there's a little font box in the bottom left corner where you can change the font. Okay, some people don't know that. Now, Pat got back to me after that, and I forgot to save a screenshot of the email. I don't feel like going to find it right now. But Pat was really asking if you can change that in the database itself, so when you go ahead and like give a copy of that front end to someone else, if that will save, if that setting will stick anywhere. Kind of like when you design a form, right? You could specify the font size stuff. I don't think so. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Access saves that in a registry key somewhere or some kind of a settings file, but I don't know where it is. I spent a few minutes trying to look for it in the registry. I didn't see it. I don't know. So if anyone out there knows where that setting is kept, tell me, let me know. What I would suggest is, if that's the case, you could very easily make yourself your own Zoom box. Just build a form, set it to whatever settings you want, and then you hit, whatever key you want to launch it, it opens up. So If you guys want to see how to build something like that, let me know. I'll show you. But no, Pat, to answer your question, I don't know how to do that. So that'd be new to me. Here's another question / comment about macros from Jose. Jose was asking my opinion if macros are good for beginners, which we just talked about a minute ago. But then Shadow Dragon came up and said something about the macro recorder. Now, the macro recorder is something that exists in Excel and in Word. But again, Access is the redheaded stepchild. We don't get a macro recorder. If you're not familiar with the macro recorder in Excel, you can start recording a macro. Give it a name, macro 1, whatever. All right, now everything you do, right, select something, bold it, change the font, do whatever, stop recording. All that gets saved in a macro in the Visual Basic Editor. Right, go over here to macros. There's your macro, macro 1. Go to edit, and there it is, right? That would be cool to have in Access, don't you think? Right? Open form, go to this field, do whatever. So, yeah, we don't have that. You can take macros in Access and convert them to VBA, though. If you've got a macro, like here, I've got this open main menu one. All it literally does is open the main menu, right? And I use that for my button up top here. But if you go into Design View, you'll see right here it says Convert Macros to Visual Basic. Click on that, hit Convert. All right, and conversion finished, and there it is. All right, it just basically created a Visual Basic version of that. And that window wasn't it. Here it is down here. Converted macro. There we go. All right, that's what it created. So, and it adds error handling functions for you, and there's the one line of the one command that's in my macro. All right, and that is a decent way to learn some VB. I learned a lot from that myself back in the day when I was first learning VB. So check it out. All right, this next comment comes from Nick, and he says, I'll still do it in VB code, don't like macros at all. Now, this was a comment on my Is Trusted video where I show you how to make a macro that can tell if the database is running from a trusted location. Because if it's not, you get the little security risk warning, which disables your VB code, okay? So the problem, Nick, is that you can't do anything in VB code because they get disabled. So you have to use a macro to tell if the database is not in a trusted folder, and then you can give the user a warning that says you're not in a trusted folder. So it's like a catch-22, right? So can't use a VB code in that case. All right, this was another comment on that same Is Trusted video from Photios, and he said, live long and prosper, Rick. Live long and prosper, obviously to you too. He said, how do you set a folder as trusted? Can you point me again to the explanation video of yours, as I missed your advice? Okay, this is something, I get this from a lot of people. When I mention other videos, I always put links in the description down below the video. Now, I know YouTube does a good job of hiding this stuff down here, but see this gray box? And it might change by the time. This used to be different. Now it's a gray box. Click right here where it says show more. There's all the links and stuff are down there, right? And literally, there's Is Trusted. That'll take you to my website. Okay. Here's the prerequisite video on trusted locations. Just click there. That'll take you to my site. There's the trusted location video. See, it's always down. YouTube does a good job of hiding that description box. I wish it was bigger, but it's not. You gotta go down there and click on it and find it. All right. So lots of people miss that. You're not alone. Once you open it up, though, it's right down here. There's all the stuff. Okay. Okay. Caroline wants to know if you're able to have a report open whilst you type. I love that word, whilst. I love it. Whilst you type into the text box and dynamically update the report. Okay, so reports are just for viewing or printing or emailing or making PDFs out of. You can't actually type into a report. All right, that's what forms are for. Forms are for your data entry. Now, you could, and this is what I said in the comment that I made to her, is I guess you could theoretically have it so that when you type into a form, then the after update in that form could refresh the report. Is it possible? Yeah, you could. But it would involve some coding. You're better off just to look at the report. If you don't like it, close it, make your changes, open it up again. Right? Could you automate that? I'm sure you could, but that's up to you if you want to or not. If anyone really, really wants to see how to do that, let me know. And if enough of you do, then I'll make a video about it. This is a comment from Darren. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically he said that he was looking to buy some stuff off my website, but after a couple clicks, he just got confused and lost because there are so many different options. And yes, he's a little bit right. My website has evolved over many, many years, and I used to just sell just videos, right? You just come to the website, you buy a video, that's it. Then I started adding memberships, and then I started adding different types of memberships. It's evolved over the last 20 years. But basically, the order form is still there. If you want to buy, beginner level 1, developer level 3, whatever, you can still go to the order form and buy whatever lesson you want. You don't have to be a member if you don't want to. Then I've got my Tech Help memberships, which is what you see a lot on my YouTube channel, the silver, gold, platinum members. And that's if you want the extended cuts and the code vault and all that stuff. With those memberships, you also get some free monthly classes, right? Like expert users get, whatever. There's all kinds of different options. It's all explained on the join page. But bottom line, if you have any questions about what memberships cover what, just contact me. That's customer service stuff. I don't always have the time to answer technical questions personally, but I do answer all the customer service related questions personally. That's my number one priority every morning. If you got a problem with your order, if you have a problem with your account, you can't log on, something's not working, then let me know and I'll take care of you and I'll answer your questions. But yeah, maybe one of these days I'll streamline all those different options. But I like I said, I didn't want to alienate any of my existing members, so I've just kind of added stuff on as time has gone on, and it's gotten, sometimes it confuses me. Nathaniel commented on my calculator video. He said you could use the lessons learned here to build a date calculator that works out the date in set number of weeks or days. And I just commented, well, if you know your date math, it's very, very easy to do. I got a whole video on date math and lots of different functions of how to do stuff with dates and months and calculations and equations and molecular structures and things of that nature. So go check this out. John wants to know what my opinions on Dataverse are. Honestly, I don't consider myself an expert on Dataverse. I haven't really spent a lot of time with it yet. And so I'm going to reserve judgment until I do consider myself an expert on it. I don't like to give my opinion on things that I'm not very well versed in. Like back 20 years ago, I used to know a lot about Photoshop. But if you ask me any Photoshop questions today, I'm going to be like, I don't know. I do agree with you on SharePoint. I've had some issues with SharePoint. I do have a SharePoint seminar that I released to show people who are currently already on SharePoint how to connect their Access database to it. But if you're not already set up with SharePoint, I don't recommend using it. I prefer using SQL Server Online, which is much, much, much better. So if you want to get your database online, this is what I recommend. You can use your Access frontend that you've built and just connect it to an SQL Server backend, move all your tables up there, and you're good to go. That's what I recommend right now. And as I mentioned in a post on my forum on my website, it's still relatively new. I like to let someone else figure out all the problems. It still feels very 1.0-ish to me, so I know it's going to be great eventually. I can definitely see the potential, but as of right now, I'm still kind of waiting until it matures a little bit before I jump into it. Now, one of our users, Kevin Yip, who's extremely helpful on the website, he posted a lot of information. He's been working with Dataverse, and he's posted a pretty good review on here, whole bunch of stuff issues he's come up with. So if you want to read more about Kevin's experience with Dataverse, check it out. He's posted a lot of good stuff on my website. So yeah, mind blown. He has some crazy stuff. So check it out. I'll post a link to this down below, and you can go check out all the stuff that Kevin has had to say, which has been very informative to me as well. I get questions like this every now and then. I get questions about people who want help with different languages in Access, or different date formats that are from different countries and all that stuff. I do have to apologize, everyone. I only speak English. I only really work with the U.S. standard. So if you have any questions about using Access in different languages, or I really can't help you. I'm sorry. I took Latin in high school, so I recognize the root words in some different Latin-derived languages, but as far as Arabic and stuff like that goes, I'm sorry, I'm not your guy. I apologize, but nope. Jim says that he wants to know if it's a good option for split databases where users have the ability to open up the back end, which is located on a shared drive. In other words, could they conceivably edit the backup table? Yeah, that is always a concern. Remember, access is not 100% secure. Okay? Even with all the tips and tricks I show you in my security seminar, all right, the only foolproof way to secure an Access database is to use SQL Server as your backend. All right? With all of the tips and tricks and the techniques I can show you, I can only show you how to secure your front end. All right, your forms, your reports, your VB code. And even that theoretically can be reverse compiled. All right, there are services out there that can do it. As far as your data goes, the tables, if you're going to give people access to work with that data, they have to have full read-write access to the folder that file is in. So yes, they could theoretically open up the table directly. You could put a password on it. All right, but you can only put one password on the entire file. I cover that in a couple different videos. But they could delete the file. They could copy the file. So the only way to secure your data is to use SQL Server. Access is not secure when it comes to your data. You can encrypt it. You can scramble it. So if they do copy it, it looks like gibberish. But there are only so many things you can do. If you want to learn more about securing your database, start with my simple security video. I go over all the basics, and this page will have more links to other information you can learn about securing your database. This question comes from Carl. Is it the real Carl Sagan from Beyond? Carl asked me if I can give tips on using cascading combo boxes and split forms. No, I can't, because I don't use split forms. I don't like split forms. I've had lots of problems with split forms. I refuse to use split forms. I talk about this in several different videos. Instead of a split form, I would use a continuous form with single form elements in the form footer or header. I don't like split forms. And I do cover that in the extended cut for the Cascading Combo Boxes video. So go check that out. Stan is commenting on one of my videos where I made a customer table and a separate city table that had cities and states in it. And you can link them back and forth. And I just bring them together in a query, what's called an ad hoc query. I don't generally make global system relationships using the database window. The only time I usually do that is if I absolutely need to enforce referential integrity. And if you want to learn what referential integrity is, check out this video. But most of the time, I'm working with split databases where the tables are in a different file, and sometimes multiple backend files. And when you do that, you lose the ability to have global relationships. So you have to have other ways of maintaining referential integrity between your tables in your code, and instead of relying on Access to handle them for you by itself. So there's all kinds of reasons why I generally don't use global relationships. And I do cover that in my more advanced developer lessons. Augustine wants to know if you can format a date to display just the month and the year. Yeah, there you go right there. Use that format, right? There it is right there. I love that trick. Okay, use the format function, put your date in there, and then use mm/YYYY. And there you go. And you can tell that I'm using PowerPoint. Whee! Check out my format, property, and function video for more details on how to use that thing. All right, folks, that's going to do it for Quick Queries number 11. I hope this was helpful to someone out there. And if you have any questions, feel free to post them. You can post them down below in the YouTube comment section, although I only probably check that maybe once a week. If you really want a good chance of getting your questions answered, visit my website, and you'll find links down below. Post them in the forums, or send them to me that way. That's the best way to get questions to me. All right. Live long and prosper, folks. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have below. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. Click the bell icon and select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Want to learn more? Click the Show More link below the video to find additional resources and links. YouTube does a pretty good job of hiding it. It's right down there. See this part of the description here, right? The name, the video's up here. There's a little Show More down there, right down the bottom. It's kind of hard to find. But once you click on that, you'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. And YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted like they used to do. But if you'd like to get an email every time I post a new video, click on the link to join my mailing list. And you can pick how frequently to get emails from me, either as they happen, daily, weekly, or monthly. Now, if you'd like to become a paid member of my channel and receive all kinds of awesome perks, click on the Join button. You'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks, including my extended cut videos, access to my code vault, lots of VBA source code in there, template downloads, and lots more. I'll talk more about these perks at the end of the video. Even if you don't want to commit to becoming a paid member and you'd like to help support my work, please feel free to click on the tip jar link. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got some puppies to feed. But don't worry, no matter what, these free tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more, and they'll always be free. Now, if you really want to learn Access and you haven't tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, and more. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link down below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? The whole thing, free, 4 hours. Go watch it. And okay, a lot of you have told me that you don't have time to sit through a 4-hour course. So I do now have a quicker Microsoft Access for Beginners video that covers all the basics faster in about 30 minutes. And no, I didn't just put the video on fast forward. But I'll put a link to this down below as well. Now, if you like level 1, level 2 is just $1. That's it, $1. And that's another whole 90-minute course. Level 2 is also free for paid members of any level, including supporters. So if you're a member, go watch level 2. It's free. Okay, want to get your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my tech help page and send me your question there. Members get priority, of course. While I do try to read and respond to all of the comments posted below in the comments section, I only have time to go through them briefly a couple of times a month, and sometimes I get thousands of them. So send me your question here on the tech help page, and you'll have a better chance of getting it answered. And while you're on my website, be sure to stop by my Access forum. We've got lots of lively conversations about Microsoft Access and other topics. I have a fantastic group of moderators who help me answer questions. Shout out to Alex, Kevin, Scott, Adam, John, Dan, Juan, and everybody else who helps out on the site. I appreciate everything you do. I couldn't do it without you. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course on YouTube. Yeah, I'm on Facebook too, but I don't like Facebook. Don't get me started. Now, let's talk more about those member perks if you do decide to join as a paid member. There are different levels: Silver, Gold, Platinum, and Diamond. Silver members and up get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, one free beginner class every month, and some other perks. Gold members get all the previous perks, plus access to download the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos, plus access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions that I use, the code that I build in most of the videos. You'll also get higher priority if you do submit any tech help questions. Now, answers are never guaranteed, but you do go higher in the list for me to read them. And if I like your question, you got a good chance of it being answered. You'll also get one free expert level class each month after you've finished the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks plus even higher priority for tech help questions. You get access to all of my full beginner level courses for every subject. And I cover lots of different subjects like Word, Excel, VBA, ASP, lots of different stuff, not just Access. These are the full-length courses found on my website. You get all the beginner ones. In addition, once you finish the expert classes, you get one free developer class per month. So lots of training. And finally, you can also become a Diamond sponsor. You'll have your name or your company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown on each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you again soon.